Welcome to Colney Talk Podcast.
Hello everyone, hope you're doing well. Welcome to another exciting episode of Colney Talk Podcast, your bite-sized breakdown show. I'm your host, Alex. First-time listeners, glad to have you here. And to my returning guests, thank you for sticking with me. As always, I talk a bit about the Arsenal match and pick out my top 3 Arsenal players who shined, and one player, not good enough, I get to call out. Champions League clash against Inter Milan at the San Siro. What a time to really shine, but it wasn't the result we were hoping for. I thought these Arsenal players got some of these poor outings out of their system. Well, that wasn't the case. There's a number of things I want to unpack from this 1-0 defeat. So let's just get right into it. We had good lineup and a reassuring bench. Welcome back, Captain. It's been a long time. We've been waiting for you, but just slow steps. So let me start with the good in the first half. Despite the scoreline, there were some bright spots in the first half. Our defensive line, particularly Saliba and Big Gabby, they handled the threat, the pressure. I mean, although we had a little scare in the first 3 minutes of the game, it could have been 1-0, but thankfully the post helped us out there. But they handled the threat of Lautaro Martinez and all the other players that came along as they were going forward. I mean, not for nothing, Inter Milan, they came heavy, playing at home under the bright lights. They really showed their might, and the Arsenal defense, they stepped up, and their ability to read the game and make crucial interventions was really huge in cutting Inter Milan's fast break. They were so fluid. It felt like we were overpowered. It just took us a little bit of time to get into our rhythm. We hadn't gotten ourselves as far as our plays going forward. It was so much of our defending, trying to keep away so much of the threat. A few shots in the first 10 minutes. Those were things that we just had to absorb, and we did that for a number of series, and that was definitely key. Credit to defensive players. The composure under the pressure was a standout feature. They even pushed forward just to get away from that deep press that Inter had pushed us in, and definitely showed the credit to how much they planned for this. Then in the midfield, Mikel Merino, he had a solid start in this game. To me, the way I assess him is from the lens of his growing into this team as the first team player, getting to understand some of the things that will be required of him. It wouldn't be the same as we would compare to how Declan Rice grew into the team, got right in, and just really kept humming. So the way I see Mikel, he's doing so much, and he's doing it very well. He played well in the first half, and it was mainly to control the tempo and disrupt Inter Milan's build-up attack. He did that well. He did that enough efficiently. I thought his presence in the middle of the park helped deal with their persistence in attack, which Inter were really, really sharp on. And for sure, we do miss Declan Rice. Hopefully we get him back this weekend, but in that absence, Mikel Merino did well enough to hold things off. And then as far as attack goes on the wing, Saka was a constant threat. But for me, Martinelli had the pace and the drive to gain more into Inter's box. The trouble, though, was finding that connection. I mean, as much as he troubled Inter's defense, his hustle plays and so much of the commendable, efforts that he contributed, it just was a situation that we couldn't connect with his crosses and some of his combination plays with the other players that were coming around him like we usually would expect. So again, literal nothing in attack where it really was needed. Although we couldn't capitalize on set pieces, we needed more creativities, other things to get our attacking going. Even as late as it was in the first half, didn't matter. But as much as we needed to arrive our attacking abilities in some fashion, at least in different variations, that's what we're hoping for. It's often going to be the credit to how Inter had put us in that situation. Crosses in the box, I'll take it, but it just felt definitely one-dimensional attack from Arsenal. Now, the bad part. We struggle to create clear-cut chances as I just started. Our attack lacked the usual fluidity and penetration as we come to expect. Trossard playing as a number 9, this wasn't the game for it. He found it difficult to make an impact. He seemed to struggle with the role, looking more like a player suited to come off the bench rather than start it, if you ask me. There's just a lot that didn't work. Now, the team would work the situation. You've heard me say this before in different game that we played. For this Champions League match, a chance where these players could shine, the formation, the plan for a player or playmaker of Trossard's caliber, it wasn't there. And I think it's time we just let him come off the bench. Maybe we can chance it in terms of swapping him with Jesus, but we've seen this consistent issues of him not showing all his strengths not in this position. So that's pretty much how it went. And then the defining moment of the first half, and indeed the match, was the penalty conceded by Mikel Merino. It was an unlucky incident. It just ultimately cost us the game. I'm not going to fault him. Bad situation. That to me is the natural poise that any player, anyone much less, would position themselves. They wouldn't naturally just keep their hands down and seeing the way the ball bounced. But that's it is what it is. And that moment overshadowed what had been a decent performance from Mikel for me in that situation, because I saw him as a defensive midfielder, not necessarily attacking. Contributing, yes, but one of our main players to break up Inter Milan's attack. And I saw the way he tracked, the way he played in so many of that combination going forward. Defensively, we were solid for the most part. We had a few nervy moments. David Raya, while not overly tested, had some worrisome moments, but not particularly him, just the way, Inter attacked, and he was able to manage that very well. So, that's pretty much how I saw this whole first half, play out. In the second half, we saw an improved performance in terms of possession and territorial dominance. Thomas Partey, while not in his absolute best, was neat in possession, and he helped us control the midfield battle a bit better. He recycled possessions well. He kept the team ticking over, and that helped push us forward towards an equalizer. But I think you're going to hear me say exactly what we lacked as we went forward into their own third. Kai Havertz, though, some bright moments from him. He grew into the game, and he looked like our most likely source of a goal, even though we kept feeding Saka the ball. As much as nothing stops him when he gets double teamed, and he would drive through the edge of the box and contribute with crosses and different things in terms of what he brings in the game. But there was now that difference of expectations of what we know Kai is, and he was just unfortunate not to get on the score sheet, because his movements, as we know, the few moments that he got on the ball, he just didn't really he set himself to unleash shots wide off, shots not necessarily connecting. So it definitely was not much all resting on Saka, but now for Kai Havertz. And this was the performance that we needed to see more consistently from Kai, but there were unfortunate plays that didn't reflect that. And as things went, it was so glad to see Ethan Nwaneri come on, because we've called for him, not expecting him to be the messiah at the moment or be the player that would turn things around, but that quality that we lack from Trossard particularly could be something that we can replace. It could be that Arteta isn't comfortable to have Ethan start a game, but that quality is what we would add to what we're lacking right now. And despite the pressure of the occasion, he looks lively. And was perhaps our most likely route to an equalizer amongst the substitutes. And playing forward, he knew his role. He was very comfortable, and I think he has chopped his way into that stage of whenever he gets thrusted into the team and playing. It's been 2 occasions now where we were chasing a lead, and he was on the pitch. So that's even an added pressure, which I think he's now used to. So I would not imagine it being that different if he started, but that's just my opinion. So, I mean, his fearlessness and his direct approach, it provided a much needed spark to our attack. So something that we've not had, why not get it early in the game? Why not use it in a situation where we can play to those qualities? I mean, we have a captain here, so hopefully we can combine him and Ethan, in one shape or another. But he's ready. He's ready to go, and I think he's able to do more than we expect. So, in fact, one of his shots, it looked the part. It looked like he was going to do that. He had a better shot than Trossard, so I'm not going to do comparison as a good or bad, but just to prove that he came in and he was ready to at least contribute right away. Now, the bad in the second half, again, about how we struggled to turn our possessions into clear-cut chances. Despite dominating large portions of the second half, we couldn't find that killer pass or moment of magic to break down Inter Milan's resolute as far as the defense goes. Defensively, they were sound. Defensively, they kept us in a certain shape. Defensively, they pushed us in a particular style of play, but I could see Arsenal growing out of it, getting some of our combinations as we would have liked it. But when it came into the box, we were really stifled and we couldn't do much more. And our inability to capitalize on those number of corners was very frustrating. I mean, yes, one of the greatest chance that would have been a goal was from Big Gabby really getting off the mark, and right there it was cleared up. So we had all of our hopes and from that, and it could have paid off, but just didn't happen. So maybe you can call that luck, because it would have been on our side to equalize and get a point, but we didn't get any other thing else. And that's how the match ended. The team tried in several ways, and Inter really forced us to play a certain way as far as our attack, because the crosses from Saka and Martinelli to find some connections weren't really happening. And the number of corners did add on top, where we just didn't have that direct impact as far as shots into the box. So there is another situation that we can hopefully step away from as we head into the weekend, but that's just one of the major things that felt like as a talking point in this game. All right, let me highlight my top 3 players who, despite the results, showed better promising signs. First up, Saliba. He was the rock at the back. I mean, the way he handled Inter Milan's dangerous, press and that speed with, Martinez, it was a worry, and they had that fluidity as they, really pushed forward. So Saliba's ability to handle that as well, and I mean, it's nothing new as he is calm under pressure, and then when he drops deep, to add another dimension in our play, it changed some of those dynamics and add into our, better possessions in the second half. So his performance was one of the silver linings in a difficult night. Second player, Saka. He was a constant thorn in Inter Milan's side. As we all know, double teamed. He's always being fed the ball because he creates chances. It was his cross from a corner, obviously, that would have given us that goal from Gabby's header. And definitely troubling the defense, had to slide a certain way that kind of opened a chance for us to gain some direct running into the box and some other clever movements. But we didn't have those movements really flow as we usually would. As I said, his corner delivery was particularly impressive. And on another night, we might have capitalized on one of those, corners those headers that would have gone in. Maybe if not just from Big Gabby, a few times from, I think in a couple of occasions from Saliba and Havertz, that probably should have gone in. So third and final player, Kai Havertz. While not perfect, he looked the most likely to score. In fact, one of his shots was going top corner, was really, very well defended. And was unfortunate to not get that goal. His movement and link-up play will never not stop being an amazing part of his, attributes, and his movements and link-up play improved as the game went on, into the dying minutes, and hoped that we were going to turn something, but that was the whole situation. Now, on the flip side, my odd player, as you can definitely imagine, as he struggled throughout, was Trossard. Playing as a number 9, he's done it before, but it seems like it's a mirror of a Newcastle game, finding it difficult to make an impact, finding it difficult to really show his play-making abilities, not just in the box, but able to create his own shots, from separations without just a number of threaded passes. I mean, he struggled. He struggled to hold up the ball effectively, didn't offer the kind of threat that we needed from our central striker, if you will. And this performance to me suggests that it might be time to keep, just get him off the bench, because he's naturally effective and in the wide position, or just as the impact sub. And the fact that we've tried a couple of times to lead the line, it doesn't mean it's breaking his confidence for him to start off the bench. It's just something we got to try. If we have to go the route of having him come on and swap in for Martinelli, let's do that. At least try something different. I mean, Arteta has been able to make subs, at halftime, not, wait much longer to make certain changes, so he could do this just as well, because the last 2 games it hasn't worked and he's just looked and seemed invincible. So it's high time we do something, and that's just the only thing I'm just calling out as far as the game goes, because he has those qualities, but it's just not working in this formation as he's playing that false 9. Folks, another disappointing result, but we're still in a strong position in our Champions League group. And there were positives to take from this performance. Our defensive solidity is not in question. We have the players, we have the attack. Our sink in front of goal is not necessarily connecting, so that's the only place that we can double down and focus and get something going. Saka's continued excellence is just a joy, just as much as it is for Kai and a few others like Timber. I know that Martinelli is itching to get on that list just as well, and his confidence in defending and playing off the ball and his hustle play is equally impressive. So that's enough to take away from this game. That is signs of encouragement. We do need to address our attacking issues. The lack of clear-cut chances is a concern. We need to find a way to be more clinical. We have Jesus there, and I don't know where or how we can make it work for him, maybe from the wing. Perhaps there's a tactical tweak or different combinations of players up front that could provide the spark, or get Ethan on the pitch earlier, but depending on the opponent, I guess. So we'll see. I mean, we saw excitement from his cameo, and nurturing and integrating these young players is the key to our success. So let's do it while we can. Yes, we need to be more clinical, and I think the key word is clinical, but the foundations are there. The team has shown what it can do, but we can't make it perfect. Where we have the space, we have the dominance in possession and control and tempo. This can be a chance where it's not all working for us, but we can be clinical in just that 1-2 golden chances, like we did in this game. And I'm confident in a few tweaks, we'll get it and get these players right back. Hopefully, it coincides with when the captain comes in and really gets fully fit and in game shape. All right, folks, I'll wrap it here for this episode. On another night, with a bit more luck, we could have been easily away with a different result. Thank you all for tuning into the Colney Talk podcast. Remember, if you enjoyed today's episode, like, subscribe, and share with your fellow Gunners. Until then, take care.